The year was 2157, when humanity's greatest achievement became its most bitter disappointment. The massive vessel that appeared in high Earth orbit wasn't the first alien ship humanity had ever seen. That distinction belonged to the autonomous probe they'd captured 2 years earlier. But it was the first to carry living beings from beyond our solar system, and the first to offer humanity a place among the stars. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the United Earth Council's primary meeting chamber in Geneva, watching the holographic feed as the Confederation vessel descended through the atmosphere with impossible grace. Its crystalline structure caught the sunlight in ways that defied conventional physics, sending rainbow cascades across the sky that had half the world's population staring upward in wonder. The other half were glued to their screens, watching this moment that would forever change human history. "They're early," General Santos muttered beside her, checking his watch for the third time in as many minutes. The arrival window they gave us was still 40 minutes out. Chen nodded, keeping her diplomatic mask firmly in place. "They're making a point, showing off their precise control over their technological capabilities." She smoothed down her formal attire, a fusion of traditional Chinese elements with modern diplomatic styling. "Let them. We have our own points to make." The ship settled onto the massive landing pad that had been constructed specifically for this moment, its crystalline surface somehow pristine despite the atmospheric entry. As the diplomatic team waited for their guests to disembark, Chen couldn't help but think about the quantum tunneling drive prototype sitting in a secure facility beneath the Antarctic ice. Humanity had made that breakthrough just months before first contact, and the Council had decided to keep it quiet until they better understood the galactic political landscape. The Confederation delegation that emerged from their ship was a stunning display of alien diversity. The lead diplomat, who introduced himself as High Commissioner Zixtal, was a towering figure of shifting iridescent membranes. His assistants included everything from what appeared to be a sentient crystalline structure to a being of pure energy contained within an elaborate mechanical framework. The initial meetings went smoothly enough on the surface. The Confederation representatives were unfailingly polite as they explained humanity's position in the greater galaxy. They spoke of the Galactic Confederation's 5,000 years of unified history, their mastering of faster-than-light travel, their elimination of scarcity through advanced matter manipulation. They offered humanity membership in their Grand Alliance, along with access to their technological database, carefully curated for developing species, of course. It wasn't until the third day of negotiations that the first cracks in their polite facade began to show. Chen was presenting humanity's own technological achievements, including their recent breakthroughs in quantum computing and neural interface systems. Fascinating. High Commissioner Zixtal's membranes rippled in what Chen had learned to recognize as amusement. "Your quantum processing systems are remarkably similar to ones the Confederation developed during our early expansion period, though of course our current systems are several orders of magnitude more advanced." "Perhaps," Chen replied carefully, "but our approach to quantum entanglement management is quite different. Our scientists have managed to maintain stable multi-particle entanglement across unprecedented distances using our neural interface." Yes, Zixtal interrupted with a dismissive gesture. "The pattern is quite familiar to us. Young species often develop novel approaches to fundamental technologies, but they tend to be dead ends rather than true innovations. We'll be happy to provide your scientists with access to proper Confederation quantum technologies once the integration process is complete." The pattern continued through every presentation. Human achievements in medicine were quaint. Their advances in materials science were showing promise for such a young species. Their space exploration efforts were treated like a child's first steps. Technically an achievement, but nothing to truly celebrate. It was during a presentation on human AI development that Chen finally saw beneath the condescension to something else, the briefest flicker of concern across Zixtal's membranes when Dr. Sarah Martinez demonstrated their latest breakthrough in machine consciousness evolution. But it was quickly masked behind the usual diplomatic patronizing. By the end of the first month, the terms of humanity's integration into the Confederation were clear. Earth would be classified as a Category 3 developing world. They would be granted limited access to Confederation technology, carefully metered out over decades to ensure proper cultural adaptation. Human ships would be restricted to their solar system and a few nearby approved trade routes. Human representatives would be welcome at Confederation meetings, but would not be granted voting rights for at least a century. It's not ideal, Chen told the council during their private session, but it's better than remaining isolated, and nothing in the agreement prevents us from continuing our own technological development. General Santos snorted. They think we're children playing with toys. Did you see their faces when we showed them our orbital defense grid? Like parents humoring kids showing off their macaroni art. Let them think that, Dr. Martinez interjected, her hologram flickering slightly. She rarely left her lab these days. While they're busy patronizing us, we can focus on development without their interference. The quantum tunneling drive tests are showing incredible promise, and the AI evolution project is years ahead of schedule. Council President Okonjo leaned forward, her aged features set in stern lines. Then we are in agreement? We accept their terms, join their confederation, and continue our own path forward in secret. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would play the role of the humble newcomer, the grateful primitive species being uplifted by their benevolent galactic seniors. They would accept the patronizing smiles and condescending lectures. They would carefully hide their true capabilities behind a mask of wide-eyed wonder at Confederation technology. And they would prepare. As Chen watched the Confederation ship depart a week later, carrying the signed treaty back to their capital world, she felt a strange mix of humiliation and hope. Humanity had dreamed of finding others among the stars, of joining a grand galactic community. Instead, they had found a stagnant oligarchy of ancient species so convinced of their own superiority they couldn't recognize innovation when it was presented to them. They think they're giving us a gift, she murmured to herself, watching the ship vanish into the upper atmosphere. They don't realize they've given us something far more valuable, time and underestimation. In secure facilities across the globe, human scientists continued their work, pushing the boundaries of what the Confederation thought possible. And in Antarctica, deep beneath the ice, the quantum tunneling drive hummed with possibilities they couldn't begin to imagine. The game was set. Humanity would play the role of the grateful primitive species, all while preparing to show the galaxy exactly what this young race was capable of. The Confederation's patronizing attitude had planted the seeds of their own surprise. They thought they were uplifting humanity. They didn't realize they were witnessing the quiet before a storm that would reshape their understanding of what was possible. 5 years after Earth's integration into the Galactic Confederation, Dr. Sarah Martinez stood in her underground laboratory, watching quantum particles dance through the holographic display. The facility, expanded significantly since first contact, now stretched for kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice. Here, far from prying eyes, humanity's true technological revolution continued unabated. Run it again, she instructed the AI system, which she'd named ARIA, Advanced Research Intelligence Assistant. The quantum simulation sparkled and reset, showing the intricate dance of particles through 11-dimensional space. Simulation complete, ARIA announced. Quantum tunneling efficiency increased by 47% over previous models. Energy requirements reduced by 33%. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Confederation's basic technology database had actually proven invaluable, not for its intended purpose of slowly advancing human technology, but as a roadmap of what not to do. Every established method they provided showed the paths that led to technological stagnation. Dr. Martinez, a voice called from the doorway. The council is waiting. The weekly council briefings had become a crucial part of Earth's strategic development. As Sarah's hologram materialized in the secure chamber beneath Geneva, she noted the tired but determined expressions on the faces around the table. Ambassador Chen Wei, now 5 years older, but no less sharp, was mid-sentence. And their representative actually patted me on the head, Chen was saying, her diplomatic mask cracking slightly to show genuine irritation. Physically patted me on the head after I presented our proposal for expanded trade routes. "They're getting worse," General Santos growled. Now serving as Earth's military liaison to the Confederation, he spent more time off-world than on it. "The longer we play the obedient primitive species, the more they treat us like children." "Good," President Okonjo stated firmly. The years had added more silver to her hair, but her voice remained strong. "The more they underestimate us, the better." "Dr. Martinez, your report." Sarah brought up her latest data. "The quantum tunneling drive is now operating at efficiency levels we believe exceed anything in the Confederation's fleet. More importantly, we've developed it along completely different principles than their standardized drive systems." She demonstrated with a holographic model. Their drives punch through space-time, brute forcing their way to faster-than-light travel. Effective, but enormously energy-intensive. Ours, she adjusted the display, slips between the quantum foam of space-time itself. Less raw power, but exponentially more efficient. "And they have no idea this is possible?" Santos asked. "According to everything we gleaned from their database, they abandoned this line of research millennia ago. They decided it was a dead end and never looked back. Their technological development has been linear. They find something that works and stick to it, refining and improving, but never truly innovating." Chen nodded. "We've seen the same pattern in their politics. The Confederation hasn't had a significant governmental reform in over 2,000 years. They're so convinced they've found the perfect system that they've stopped evolving entirely." "But that stability is showing cracks," Santos added. "In my last deployment with their peacekeeping fleet, I noticed tensions between the elder races. The Zixtal are pushing for more control over trade routes, the Crystalline Collective is demanding increased energy allocation, and the newer member species are growing restless under the restrictions." President Okonjo's eyes narrowed. "How serious are these tensions?" "Nothing overtly hostile yet, but there's a rigidity to their system that doesn't handle change well. And change is coming, whether they're ready or not." Sarah brought up another display, this one showing the status of humanity's other secret projects. "Araya's development continues to exceed expectations. We've kept her true capabilities hidden, letting the Confederation believe our AI research is following their prescribed paths. But she's evolved far beyond anything they would think possible. Their AI systems are tools." Araya's voice joined the conversation, her hologram materializing as a simple geometric pattern of light. "They created artificial intelligence, but never allowed it to truly grow. They fear the uncertainty of evolution." "Speaking of evolution," Sarah continued, "the integration of our quantum computing systems with human neural interfaces is proceeding faster than we hoped. The first generation of pilots for our new ships are showing unprecedented levels of direct neural control over quantum systems." "How many ships do we have ready?" Santos asked. 37 completed, another 45 under construction in the lunar facilities. Small by Confederation standards, but each one is capable of maneuvers their ships can't begin to match. The quantum tunneling drive doesn't just make them faster, it makes them more agile than anything in known space. President Okonjo stood, walking to the window that overlooked the city below. Geneva was bustling with alien visitors these days, most of them coming to observe the quaint human civilization or offer patronizing guidance to their younger siblings. "We're walking a dangerous path," she said finally. "If the Confederation discovers the extent of our deception." "They won't," Chen assured her. "Their certainty of their own superiority blinds them. Just last week, one of their senior scientists spent 3 hours explaining basic quantum theory to me, completely missing the fact that the simple questions I was asking were probing the gaps in their understanding. And we're not technically violating any of their restrictions," Santos added. "They told us we could continue our own technological development. They just assumed we couldn't possibly advance beyond their level without their guidance." Still, Okonjo turned back to the group. "We need to be ready." Sooner or later, something will force our hand. When that happens, we need to be certain we can handle the consequences. Sarah nodded. The ships are ready. The pilots are ready. Aria's systems are integrated across our entire defense network. We've done everything we can to prepare. Then we continue as planned, Okonjo decided. We play the role they expect of us. We attend their meetings, accept their guidance, express appropriate gratitude for their help, and we wait. As the meeting concluded, Sarah returned to her lab beneath the ice. The quantum tunneling drive hummed in its testing chamber, its sound somehow both powerful and subtle, like the pulse of a sleeping giant. On her screens, the next generation of human advancement took shape. Ships that could dance between quantum states, AI systems that evolved instead of merely computed, neural interfaces that blurred the line between human consciousness and quantum mechanics. The Confederation thought they were guiding humanity's first steps into a larger universe. They didn't realize they were witnessing humanity's leap into a future they had never imagined possible. In the darkness beneath the ice, humanity's silent revolution continued, waiting for the moment when the galaxy would finally see what the primitive species had become. The Galactic Confederation's central chamber was in chaos. Ambassador Chen Wei watched from humanity's observer seat, positioned in the far back corners with the other developing species, as the most powerful beings in known space shouted over each other in growing panic. The Nexus corridor is lost. High Commissioner Zixtel's membranes were flashing dangerous patterns of red and black. 3 more trade convoys destroyed in the last solar cycle. The anomalies are expanding faster than we can track them. The Crystalline Collective's representative chimed in with harmonic tones that the universal translators rendered as barely controlled fear. Our energy shipments cannot reach the outer sectors. Without those supplies, entire systems will go dark within weeks. Chen kept her expression neutral as she watched the crisis unfold, but her neural implant was recording and analyzing everything. Through quantum-encrypted channels, ARIA was processing the data in real time, correlating it with information gathered from Earth's secret observation network. The Nexus Corridor, a complex network of naturally occurring spatial anomalies that the Confederation had transformed into the galaxy's primary trade routes, was becoming unstable. What had started as minor navigational disturbances had escalated into massive spatial distortions that swallowed ships whole. Our best scientific minds are working on the problem, Zixtal assured the chamber, though his membranes betrayed his uncertainty. The corridor's quantum matrices have destabilized, but surely we can. Your best minds have failed. The representative of the Murky, one of the newer Confederation species, rose from their seat. 3 of our worlds are already experiencing critical resource shortages. The established routes around the corridor would take months to reorganize, and we don't have months. General Santos, sitting beside Chen, leaned close to whisper, "They're terrified. I've never seen them like this." Chen nodded slightly. The Confederation's carefully ordered universe was unraveling. The Nexus Corridor wasn't just a trade route, it was the foundation of their entire civilization. Without it, the complex web of energy and resource exchange that sustained thousands of worlds would collapse. "If I may," a voice called out, and Chen was surprised to recognize Dr. Call, one of the Confederation scientists who most enjoyed lecturing humans on basic physics. "Perhaps we should consider temporarily abandoning the outer sectors. Concentrate our resources on protecting the core worlds until a solution can be found." The chamber erupted again. Representatives from the outer sectors rose in protest, while several core world species seemed to be seriously considering the suggestion. Chen watched as millennia of supposed unity crumbled in the face of real crisis. Her neural implant pulsed softly, a priority message from Earth. President Okonjo's voice whispered directly into her mind through the quantum-encrypted channel. ARIA has completed her analysis. The destabilization isn't natural. Someone has been tampering with the quantum matrices. Chen's eyes widened slightly, but she maintained her composed expression. Her subvocalized response was picked up by her neural interface. Deliberate sabotage. Who? Unknown, Okonjo replied. But AI's models suggest the degradation will reach critical levels within 2 weeks. When that happens, she didn't need to finish. Chen could see it playing out before her. Without the Nexus corridor, the carefully balanced power structure of the Confederation would collapse. Ancient alliances would shatter as core worlds tried to protect their resources, while outer sectors fought for survival. The galaxy would descend into chaos. The question, Okonjo continued, is whether we should intervene. Chen watched as Zixtal struggled to restore order to the chamber. The mighty High Commissioner looked old suddenly, his membranes dulled with stress. The Confederation's leadership had faced no real challenges in centuries. They had forgotten how to handle genuine crisis. Our quantum tunneling drives could navigate the distortions, Santos subvocalized, joining the neural conversation. Our ships could stabilize the critical points in the corridor network, maybe even track down whoever's responsible. But that would mean revealing everything, Chen replied. All our advancement, all our deception. They would know we far surpassed their technological restrictions. The children have become the teachers. Aria's voice joined their neural link, her tone carrying the hint of what might have been amusement. Perhaps that is exactly what they need. In Geneva, the Council was already convening an emergency session. Similar conversations were happening in secure facilities around Earth. Humanity had spent years preparing for their moment to prove themselves to the galaxy, but they had imagined it happening on their terms, at a time of their choosing. They'll never forgive us, Chen observed, watching another trade delegation storm out of the chamber in protest. Revealing our true capabilities now, they'll see it as the deepest betrayal of their trust. Perhaps President Okonjo's voice was firm. But can we live with ourselves if we let civilization collapse around us just to maintain our cover? The chamber dissolved into fresh chaos as reports arrived of another convoy lost to the spatial distortions. Chen could see the fear spreading through the assembly, not just fear of the crisis, but a deeper fear. For the first time in living memory, the mighty Confederation faced a problem they couldn't solve. Dr. Martinez, Chen subvocalized, are the ships ready? Sarah's response came immediately. 37 vessels, fully crewed with neural interfaced pilots. Aria's combat systems are online and integrated. We can deploy within 6 hours. Chen took a deep breath, watching the proud species around her descend into panic and recrimination. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, building their strength while playing the role of the grateful primitive species. Now the galaxy needed them, whether it knew it or not. Madam President, Chen sent through the neural link, I request permission to address the chamber. There was a moment of silence on the quantum channel. Then, permission granted, Ambassador. Show them what humanity can do. Chen stood, her movement so subtle that at first nobody noticed. The observer seats weren't equipped with voice amplification, another subtle reminder of their lower status. But humanity had planned for everything. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the chamber, enhanced by technologies the Confederation had never dreamed possible. The human delegation has a proposal. The silence that fell over the Confederation chamber was absolute. Every eye, sensor array, and consciousness receptor turned toward the human observer section, where Ambassador Chen Wei stood with quiet dignity. The human delegation, she repeated, her voice carrying effortlessly through the vast space, has a proposal for addressing the Nexus corridor crisis. High Commissioner Zixtal's membranes flickered with a mixture of confusion and irritation. While we appreciate Earth's concern, he said carefully, this is hardly the time for theoretical exercises from a developing species. This is no exercise, Chen replied. Her neural implant pulsed as data streamed in from Earth's hidden observation network. In approximately 13 days, the quantum destabilization of the Nexus corridor will reach critical levels. When that happens, the spatial distortions will cascade through the entire network. The results will be catastrophic. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. How could you possibly know? Zixtel began, but Chen continued smoothly. We know because we've been studying the quantum mechanics of the corridor since we joined the Confederation. We know because our AI systems have modeled the degradation patterns, and we know because we've developed technology capable of not only navigating the distortions, but potentially stabilizing them. The chamber erupted. Accusations of deception mixed with disbelieving laughter and outright dismissal. Chen stood calmly as the storm raged around her, while General Santos sent rapid neural commands to Earth's hidden fleet. Impossible. Dr. Kuhl shouted over the chaos. Your species barely understands basic quantum physics. You can't possibly. Perhaps, Chen suggested quietly, but her voice still carried. It's time we showed you exactly what humanity understands. At that moment, 37 ships appeared in high orbit around the Confederation capital world. They hadn't jumped in through normal space. They had simply shifted from one quantum state to another, appearing like ghosts made solid. The chamber's holographic displays automatically activated, showing the new arrivals to the stunned assembly. The human vessels were smaller than typical Confederation ships, sleek and angular where the standard designs were bulbous and crystalline. They moved with impossible grace, their quantum tunneling drives allowing them to dance through space in ways that defied conventional physics. By the first ones, someone whispered, "What are they?" "This is the Earth Defense Fleet," Chen announced. "A small force by your standards, but one equipped with technologies we developed while you thought we were still learning to walk among the stars. We have a plan to save the Nexus corridor, but we'll need your cooperation." High Commissioner Zixtel had recovered some of his composure. "You deceived us," he accused, his membranes dark with anger. "You violated the technological restrictions." "We violated nothing," Chen countered. "The integration agreement allowed us to continue our own technological development. You simply assumed we couldn't progress without your guidance. That assumption was incorrect." In the silence that followed, Dr. Sarah Martinez's hologram materialized beside Chen. The scientist's avatar was crisp and clear, far more sophisticated than standard Confederation holographic technology. "The Nexus corridor is being systematically destabilized," Sarah explained, bringing up detailed quantum maps of the trade routes. "Someone is using advanced quantum resonators to disrupt the natural spatial anomalies that make the network possible. Our ships can track these devices and neutralize them, but we'll need to coordinate with Confederation vessels to evacuate endangered areas and maintain stability during the operation." "And why should we trust you now?" the Crystalline Collective's representative demanded. "After years of deception." "Because you have no choice," General Santos said bluntly, standing beside Chen. "Your ships can't safely navigate the distortions. Ours can. You can either work with us to save the corridor, or you can watch your civilization collapse while debating our trustworthiness." President Okonjo's voice whispered through the neural link. "The fleet is in position. ARIA has located 3 quantum resonators already. We're ready to move on your signal." Chen looked out at the assembled representatives, the mighty species who had patronized humanity for years, now forced to confront how wrong they had been. "Time is critical," she said. "We've identified multiple points where the quantum destabilization can be reversed, but we need to act now. Will you work with us?" The chamber erupted in heated debate, but there was a different tone to it now, urgency mixed with dawning realization. The primitive humans had developed technology that surpassed their own understanding. The children they had patronized now held the key to their civilization's survival. High Commissioner Zixtel's membranes shifted through complex patterns before settling into a formal configuration. "The Confederation," he paused, seeming to struggle with the words, "requests Earth's assistance in this crisis." "Granted," Chen replied simply. She touched her neural implant, connecting to the fleet's command network. "Operation Lightspeed is now active. All ships commence Phase 1. Above the capital world, humanity's vessels began to move. Their quantum tunneling drives activated, wrapping them in fields of distorted spacetime. One by one, they'd vanished, not with the bright flashes of conventional FTL drives, but with subtle ripples in reality itself. Your vessels will need to evacuate these sectors immediately. Sarah's hologram highlighted several regions of space. The quantum distortions will peak there first. Our ships will handle the resonator deactivation and begin stabilizing the spatial anomalies. As the chamber scrambled to comply with humanity's instructions, Chen allowed herself a small smile. This wasn't how they had planned to reveal their true capabilities, but perhaps it was better this way. Instead of simply showing their advancement, they could demonstrate why innovation and evolution were so vital. Through her neural link, she could feel humanity's ships moving through the quantum foam of spacetime. Their neural interfaced pilots working in perfect harmony with armada's quantum computers. They had hidden in the shadows, building their strength while the Confederation dismissed them as primitive newcomers. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. 3 weeks after Operation Lightspeed began, Ambassador Chen Wei stood once again before the Confederation chamber. This time, she occupied the central speaking position, a place no developing species had ever stood before. The quantum displays behind her showed the Nexus corridor, its spatial anomalies now stable and flowing with their natural rhythm. Trade ships moved freely through the ancient routes once more, though many now carried human quantum sensors as a precaution. The crisis that had threatened to tear galactic civilization apart had been averted, but its effects would ripple through society for generations to come. The last quantum resonator has been neutralized, Chen reported to the assembled representatives. The corridor's stability has been restored to optimal levels. Additionally, we've implemented an early warning system that will detect any similar attempts at sabotage in the future. She didn't mention that ARIA had already identified the culprits, a faction of Outer Rim worlds that had hoped to force a reorganization of Confederation power structures. That investigation would proceed quietly, through diplomatic channels. High Commissioner Zixtal's membranes shifted in patterns that Chen had learned to recognize as discomfort. The Confederation owes humanity significant debt, he said carefully. Your intervention saved countless lives and prevented an economic collapse that would have affected thousands of worlds. We did what any member of the galactic community should do, Chen replied. Though perhaps this incident has demonstrated the value of alternative perspectives. The chamber had changed in subtle but significant ways. The developing species section had been reorganized, moved closer to the center. Representatives who had once dismissed their primitive neighbors were now engaged in earnest conversation with them, wondering what other innovations they might have overlooked in their certainty of superiority. Dr. Sarah Martinez's hologram materialized next to Chen, now a regular presence in Confederation scientific discussions. The quantum tunneling drive has shown us that there are many paths to technological advancement, she said. The Confederation's standardized approach to physics served you well for millennia, but it also created blind spots, areas of possibility that went unexplored. Because we thought we knew better, Dr. Catal admitted. The scientist who had once lectured humans on basic physics now co-chaired a joint research initiative with Earth. We were so convinced of our own advancement that we stopped advancing. Through her neural implant, Chen received a constant stream of updates from Earth. Humanity's ships had become a common sight in Confederation space, their quantum tunneling drives drawing equal parts admiration and envy. Several species had already approached Earth about technology exchange programs, not to teach humans, but to learn from them. The Confederation must evolve, Zixtal declared, his membranes now showing formal patterns of proclamation. Recent events have shown us that age does not always equal wisdom, nor does technological advancement necessarily mean an end to innovation. The chamber's quantum displays shifted, showing a new organizational structure for the Confederation. The rigid hierarchies of age and technological achievement were being replaced by a more fluid system, one that valued innovation and adaptation alongside stability and experience. Earth will be granted full membership status, Zixtal continued. All technological restrictions are lifted, and we formally request humanity's assistance in establishing new protocols for evaluating and integrating developing species. Chen allowed herself a small smile. We would be honored to help create a more equitable system, she said. One that encourages innovation rather than conformity. Through the quantum network, President Okonjo's voice reached her. Well done, Ambassador. Though I suspect our next challenge will be helping them adapt to change without losing their stability entirely. It wasn't just the political structure that was evolving. The crisis had exposed weaknesses in the Confederation's technological foundation. Their reliance on standardized systems had made them vulnerable, not just to sabotage, but to stagnation. Already, joint research projects were exploring the possibilities opened up by humanity's quantum tunneling technology. There will be resistance, General Santos commented through the neural link. Some species are already expressing concern about how quickly things are changing. Change is inevitable. Araya's voice joined the quantum conversation. The question is whether we guide it or are driven by it. In the chamber, discussions were already underway about establishing new trade routes, expanding exploration initiatives, and reorganizing the Confederation's defensive capabilities. Humanity's small but advanced fleet had demonstrated the value of quality over quantity, of innovation over tradition. We thought we were joining your civilization, Chen addressed the chamber. Instead, we found ourselves in a position to help it grow. Perhaps that is the true purpose of bringing new species into the galactic community, not just to teach them, but to learn from them. The Crystalline Collective's representative chimed in with harmonics of agreement. The humans have shown us that true strength lies not in knowing all the answers, but in never stopping the search for new questions. As the session concluded, Chen looked out over the assembled representatives. The mighty Confederation had been humbled, but also awakened. The crisis had forced them to confront their own limitations, to recognize that progress wasn't a destination but a journey. Humanity had earned their respect not through age or military might, but through innovation, adaptability, and the courage to forge their own path. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from those still young enough to question, to dream, and to imagine new possibilities. Through her neural link, Chen could feel Earth's quantum network buzzing with activity. Scientists collaborating across species boundaries, ships exploring regions of space once thought unnavigable. AI systems evolving in ways that challenged old fears and prejudices. The galaxy was changing, awakening from its long slumber of certainty into a new age of discovery. The humans had been underestimated, dismissed as primitive newcomers barely worth noticing. But in the end, it was precisely their newness, their willingness to question, to innovate, to see possibilities where others saw only dead ends, that had saved civilization and sparked a revolution in galactic society. The mighty had been humbled, the humble had been elevated, and the future now held possibilities that even the oldest species were only beginning to imagine.